The car came out of nowhere. February 4th, 1930. Mulberry Street, Little Italy. 11:52 p.m. Lucky Luciano heard it before he saw it. Not the engine. The engine was cut. What he heard was tires on wet cobblestone. The specific sound of a heavy car rolling without power. Lights off, coasting. Hunters don't announce themselves. Lucky had 2 seconds, maybe 3. He threw himself left between 2 parked cars as the first shots came through the window. Glass exploded across the street behind him. A woman on the 2nd floor screamed and went silent. The night lit up with muzzle flash. 1, 2, 3, 4, rapid and close. The shots of men who expected a standing target and got empty street instead. Lucky hit the ground hard. Left shoulder, cobblestones cutting through his coat. He rolled, came up against a car's rear wheel, pressed himself flat. The shooter car stopped. He could hear doors, they were getting out. He had 1 gun, 6 bullets, and nowhere to run that they couldn't see. What Lucky Luciano did in the next 4 minutes on that empty street would determine whether he lived to become the man who built organized crime in America or became a footnote nobody remembered. He chose to live. To understand what happened that night, you need to understand the war that had been consuming New York for 8 months, the Castellamarese War. 2 sides, 2 visions of who would control organized crime in America. Joe Masseria, fat, crude, stubborn, running the city the old way. Tribute, fear, brutality, do what I say or disappear. Salvatore Maranzano, educated, strategic, newly arrived from Sicily with ambitions that made Masseria look like a corner bookie. Both men wanted the same thing, total control. Every family, every operation, every dollar, and caught between them was Lucky Luciano. Lucky was Masseria's underboss, his top earner, the man who kept Masseria's operation functioning while Masseria ate and schemed and gave orders that made less sense every week. Lucky had his own vision, something neither Masseria nor Maranzano understood. Not one man at the top. A table, families, structure, business, but visions don't matter when someone's trying to kill you. Maranzano had identified Lucky as Masseria's most dangerous asset. Eliminate Lucky, and Masseria's organization loses its spine. He sent 3 men on February 4th to make that happen. They found Lucky leaving a late dinner at a restaurant on Mulberry Street, followed him half a block, turned off their lights, rolled. They thought it would be simple. 4 minutes after the first shot, the car was still on the street, doors open, engine off. 3 men spread out across the narrow road. Masseria's underboss had to be close. He hadn't had time to run far. What they didn't know was that Lucky Luciano had grown up on these streets. He knew every doorway, every alley, every gap between buildings where a man his size could press flat and disappear. He'd moved while they were getting out of the car, crawled behind the parked vehicles, staying low, using the sound of their own footsteps to cover his movement. Got himself 20 feet down the street and into the shadow of a recessed doorway before the first man reached the spot where Lucky had gone down. "He's not here," one of them said. Low voice. "Careful. He's hit. Has to be. Then where's the blood?" Lucky was not hit. His shoulder was bruised from the fall, his palms shredded from the cobblestones, but the bullets had missed, all 4 of them. He pressed himself against the door behind him, felt the handle against his back. Old building. Probably unlocked. These buildings always were. He reached back slowly, turned the handle. Locked. He heard them moving, getting closer. Methodical. Checking between cars one by one. 1 man, 20 feet away, moving toward him. 15 feet. 10. Lucky stepped out of the doorway. He didn't run. Running in a narrow street at night makes noise and gives direction. He walked, fast, directly at the man closest to him. The man saw movement, started to raise his gun. Lucky hit him with his shoulder, full weight, driving him back into the parked car behind him. The gun went off into the air. Both of them went down. The man was bigger, heavier. He got his arm up, got Lucky by the collar, tried to bring the gun back around. Lucky drove his elbow into the man's face. Once, twice, felt something give. The man went slack enough. Lucky grabbed the gun from his loosened hand and ran, not away from the other 2 men, toward the alley 20 feet to his right, the alley he'd known since he was old enough to run through it, the one that cut through to the next block and came out behind the hardware store on Prince Street. A shot hit the brick wall 6 inches to his left as he turned into the alley. Chips of masonry cut his cheek. He ran harder. The alley was dark, completely dark. He ran it from memory. The dip where water collected, the corner at the trash bins, the wooden fence at the end that had a loose board 3rd from the left. He hit the fence at full speed, found the board, went through, splinters tore his coat. The board swung back and caught him in the shoulder, the bruised shoulder, the cobblestone shoulder. He bit down hard and kept moving, came out on Prince Street. Pressed himself against the building wall immediately, scanned left, right, a drunk asleep in a doorway, a cat on a fire escape, nothing else. Behind him in the alley, a flashlight beam cut through the dark. He went through here. Lucky moved left, fast walk, not running. Running draws eyes, fast walking is a man late for something. He turned one corner, then another, forcing himself to slow down, pressing his back against a wall to listen. Nothing following. He exhaled once, hard. His hands were shaking, not from fear. He knew the difference by now. Adrenaline burning through the body after danger passes, looking for somewhere to go. He pressed his palms flat against the cold brick until the shaking stopped. 20 seconds, 30. Then he found a payphone and called the only number that mattered. Maya Lansky picked up on the second ring. "It's me." Lucky's voice was steady, controlled. He'd learned years ago that the moment after danger was when most men fell apart. He'd trained himself to go the other direction, get colder, get clearer. "Maranzano just sent 3 men for me on Mulberry. I'm out. I need a car at Prince and Sullivan in 10 minutes. Maya didn't ask if Lucky was hurt, didn't ask for details. 10 minutes, he said. Green Packard. Lucky hung up, stepped back into the shadow of a building entrance, watched the street. His left shoulder ached badly. He moved it. Nothing broken. His cheek was still bleeding. He pressed his coat sleeve against it. He thought about the 3 men. One of them was down, nose broken probably, possibly more. The other 2 were somewhere on Mulberry Street, looking for him or gone. He thought about Maranzano. Then he thought about Masseria, and standing on that empty sidewalk on a February night in 1930, bleeding from his face and his hands, Lucky Luciano made a decision that would change everything. He was done being caught in the middle. The green Packard arrived in 9 minutes. The driver was one of Maya's men. Young didn't speak, took one look at Lucky's face and said nothing about what he saw there. Lucky got in the back. Drive. Nowhere specific, just drive. The car moved through lower Manhattan. Lucky watched the streets go past. "Maya's waiting," the driver finally said. "I know." They found Maya at a diner on Canal Street. Back booth, coffee already on the table. Maya looked at Lucky's face, at the coat, at the hands. "How bad?" "Cosmetic," Lucky said. He sat down, picked up the coffee, drank half of it. 3 men, Maranzanos. They knew my route. Someone told them. "Yes." Lucky set down the cup. "Someone inside." Maya was quiet for a moment. "That narrows it." "It does. What do you want to do?" Lucky looked out the window at Canal Street. The city he'd spent his adult life building piece by piece. The operation he'd constructed from nothing into something that made millions and ran smoothly and had rules and structure and a future. And in the middle of it all, a war that threatened to destroy everything. He thought about Masseria, old, stubborn, bleeding support from every family that was tired of the tribute and the demands and the body count. He thought about Maranzano, smart, ambitious, would be worse than Masseria once he won, and he would win unless something changed. He thought about the 3 men on Mulberry Street, about the loose board in the alley fence, about how close 4 bullets had come to ending this conversation before it started. "I'm going to end the war," Lucky said. "Masseria's side or Maranzano's?" "Neither." Lucky's voice was flat, final. "Both, but here's what Maranzano's 3 men had actually accomplished that night. Not killing Lucky Luciano. They'd failed at that completely. What they'd done was remove the last reason Lucky had for patience. For 8 months he'd watched the war from inside Masseria's organization, had kept his head down, had kept his operation profitable through the chaos, had waited for the right moment. The right moment had just arrived on Mulberry Street in a car with its lights off. Over the next 6 weeks, Lucky moved with a precision that no one in either camp understood until it was already done. He identified the informant inside, a runner named Carmine Vestri, who'd been feeding Lucky's schedule to Maranzano's men for 2 months. Vestri disappeared on February 11th. Nobody found him. Nobody looked very hard. He made quiet contact with 4 of Masseria's captains, who'd been privately questioning their boss's leadership. 1 conversation each, no promises made, just questions asked. "Where do you see this going? What does winning look like to you?" The answers told Lucky everything he needed to know. He met with Maranzano's people in early March. Not Maranzano himself, too dangerous, too exposed. One of Maranzano's trusted lieutenants in a neutral location through 3 layers of intermediary. The message Lucky sent was simple. Masseria goes away. The war ends. We build something new. No boss of bosses. A table. Maranzano's response took 11 days. Yes, but Masseria had to go completely, and Lucky had to be the one to arrange it. Lucky said yes. On April 15, 1931, 10 weeks after the night on Mulberry Street, Joe Masseria sat down for what he believed was a private lunch with his most trusted underboss at Scarpotto's restaurant in Coney Island. Lucky excused himself to the men's room midway through the meal. 4 men came through the door, 20 bullets, 6 hits, 40 seconds. Lucky walked back out when it was done, past the body of the man who'd employed him for a decade, and got into a waiting car. The Castellamarese War ended that afternoon. Not with a treaty, not with negotiation, with a decision that Lucky Luciano had made while bleeding on a sidewalk on February 4, 1930. The night they tried to kill him, they created the man who killed them first. Years later, a detective named Horan, who'd worked the Mulberry Street shooting, asked a source close to Lucky about that night. He never talked about it. The source said, nothing, not what he felt, not what he thought. The source was quiet for a moment. He said one thing once. He said the mistake those men made wasn't missing him. He said their mistake was making him decide. Decide what? That's all he said, that they made him decide. Horan thought about that for a long time. He never figured out what it meant. But every man who came after, every boss, every family, every criminal organization in America for the next 30 years lived inside the decision that Lucky Luciano made on a February sidewalk with blood on his hands and 4 bullets in the walls behind him. They'd tried to kill him once. He made sure there was no second chance. If this story showed you the moment everything changed, hit subscribe. We're uncovering the night's history forgot, the close calls that built empires, the moments when one man's survival became everyone else's destiny. Turn on notifications. Lucky Luciano's story has more close calls than anyone knows. Drop a comment. If those 4 bullets had connected, does organized crime in America look the same? Lucky Luciano, 1897, 1962, the man they couldn't kill, the target who became the architect, the survivor who made sure no one ever had a second shot. Rest in power.